that we have to be in healthy relationships. We have to make sure that our children are seeing us in healthy relationships. It's not a good thing for you to argue with your spouse all the time. Yeah, you may have arguments now and then, but why are you throwing pots and pans in front of the kids? Why is these kids are sitting there and they're like, oh my gosh, mom just threw a shoe at dad, or dad just picked mom up by the collar and threw her across the room.
And don't negate verbal abuse.
Oh my gosh.
You should never, ever, ever let your children hear you putting one another down. There's no need to call each other out of each other's name. You know when you're going into your red zone. It's time. Okay, you know, I love the way the firemen tell us when you're on fire, stop, drop, and roll. I said it. I said, Lord, I said, I'm going to have to tell them, when you're on fire, you need to stop, drop, and pray.
That's right. I like that. Stop, drop, and pray.
Stop, drop, and pray.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think with that as well, Pam, when your children are seeing you, a male or a female, being spoken to in that way, they think that that's the way it's supposed to be.
You know, and I noticed that. You know, we grew up, I don't know how you grew up, but I know how I grew up. And in my house was a yelling house. My mom was one of the moms who did it on her own. She had her boyfriend, that was her boyfriend. But she did the disciplining and everything. She was not having it. And she would yell and she would scream and she would cuss. But, you know, I ain't mad at her. That's what she knew. That's the way she knew how to deal with her 4 kids. But I noticed, you know, as I was growing up, I don't know, God deals with me the way he deals with me. I pay attention. And I got to a point I would go to church and you know, the preaching. And I never heard any other preaching. You know, when you're young, you go to church, you hear it's like they're yelling. And it got to the point in my spirit, I couldn't deal with that no more. And God blessed me, and I came across people like Charles Stanley on TV, and he's just standing there just softly speaking and just teaching the word. And I'm like, wow, you mean it didn't have to come across like that? Okay. I couldn't figure out why you yelling at me. You know, and I listen, sometimes I hear preachers and they yelling. They are literally yelling at me as though I'm their child and I did so much wrong because I sinned and God gonna do this and God that and he don't like this, and you know, and I'm like, you know what? You really don't have to yell at me.
Right. Because
see, me, though I grew up like that, I already had a sensitive spirit. All you had to do was look at me like you're looking at me now and say, Pamela, I'm very disappointed in you. I'd go off and cry. I would go off and cry and go and feel so sad and just, you know, I'm sorry and be hard on myself already. So I really didn't need anybody yelling at me.
Right.
So it really took me somewhere as far as my faith was concerned. It's like, because I couldn't do it. It got to a point I said, I'm tired of abuse. I don't want to be abused growing up. I don't want to be abused as an adult. I don't want to be abused in my church service. Stop yelling at me.
You know, I never thought of it that way. That's a good point.
But people are used to abuse. I got used to abuse. And I looked at it and I said, Lord, I don't want to be used to abuse anymore. I said, you got to show me the softer side of love. I said, I don't think Jesus was cussing people out. And you can really feel like you being yelled at and put down because you did some kind of sin sometime. Yeah. But that's just the way they grew up.
Right.
And you think about it, that's the way you exhibited in your businesses. That's the way, I mean, I worked for a guy once. He was going through, he was a yeller and a thrower.
Isn't that amazing how it
follows you through your path.
In every area of your life.
Yes. And I won't tolerate it anymore. I'm not mean about it, but I won't tolerate it anymore. I will not respond to you with that tone.
Right.
Because I'm a firm believer now that we teach people how to deal with us.
You're right.
We tell them how to treat us.
You're right.
And I have been one throughout my whole life, I remember, and I would tell people, oh, don't worry about it. You go ahead. Mm-hmm. And I found out over the years, I've taught people to just walk all over me, that I didn't matter, and I don't matter to me, and you don't have, and you don't have to matter. I don't have to matter to you. I'll put myself last for you. It's okay. But I started to find out nobody was reaching back to say, hey, I made it over. Now come on, I got you.
Right.
But I was thinking that they would, honestly, but they didn't. But now I'm not that way. I'm like, okay, I like the word. The word said where esteem another person's interest higher than your own. But it didn't say don't esteem your own interest.
Right.
Okay, now I got to fit you in and me in. See, what I was doing was fitting you in and forgetting how to fit me in. I was thinking you was going to fit me in. But you wasn't fitting me in. So now I get the word. So I esteem your interest higher than my own. I'm not going to negate my own interest, but I got to see how that's going to fit in. Okay, Pamela, can you take me to the store? Let me see. I have another appointment. Let me see if I can work you in, or if I can drop my appointment a little bit and see, is it a major appointment? I have to determine that. If I can't do